Hello, today we are going to be installing a shadow kill pot on this EVH Frankenstrat. Why would we do that? Well, there are certain songs, specifically one Van Halen song, You Really Got Me, in which he uses an on-off switch in order to produce one of the effects. He didn't use this guitar for that song. He used his modified Ibanez that actually had a on-off switch. Most of Eddie's guitars after this had an on-off switch. I don't want to alter the aesthetics of this guitar. I want to keep it as authentic as possible, but I do want the functionality of an on-off switch. So Shadow makes this potentiometer or pot in audio or linear. Audio is generally used for tone and linear is generally used for volume. But we are going to be installing a 500K shadow pot that is audio. And the 500K is because we have a humbucker, and we are using the audio because Eddie actually used a tone pot in place of the volume. It's labeled tone, but it operates the volume because that's how he wired it. However, it has the sloped response that a tone pot exhibits. So it very rapidly goes from full volume to no volume. And he also uses that on things like the Cathedral song. So at any rate, here we go. This is the shadow pot. You press, it kills the signal. You let go, the signal's back. You could wire it also so it's the other way around, but that wouldn't make much sense. And it's very smooth, nearly as smooth as the EVH one. And so that's it. Let's keep going. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the tremolo arm out of the way. Next thing is I'm going to mark exactly where the 10 is so that when I remove this knob, which I have read is rather difficult to remove because the bar in here is solid. It's not split like this one. So it's really on here tight. So I'm going to mark the exact location of the 10 so that I can replicate it. And I'll mark the 1 as well so I can replicate it once I put the new pot in place and press in the knob. Okay, so now the next step is to remove the knob. I have read that it is no easy task. The shaft on that pot is solid, so it's put on with a lot of pressure, perhaps even glue. I'm going to try a little trick that I've seen and done actually in the past with this sort of thing. Hopefully it works. First I'm going to put some padded paper here, and then wedge a knife here, wedge a knife here, and pull up. Hopefully, worked. Perfect. Oh, look at that. The pot is split. That's strange. All the ones that I've seen for sale and the ones that I have seen other people do modifications to this guitar show a solid shaft. Maybe they changed things around. Well, that's good. Made things easier. Next step is remove the Eddie Van Halen style modified pick guard. I'm being real careful to not strip the screws, but ironically, if I did, it would actually make the guitar look more authentic, because if you've ever seen the real one, it's pretty rough in every way. But I don't think I want to be that authentic just yet. I just paid a lot of money for this. Don't feel like beating the hell out of it just yet. Okay. All right. That's freed. Now I've got to grab a wrench to loosen this lock nut, and then I could push the pot through. Okay, I flipped it over to reveal the mess of wiring. If yours looks a bit different in there, that's okay, because I shielded the inside with metallic tape, just like the real one. I don't think it really needed it, but it also doesn't hurt it either. I would suggest taking a photo of this mess of wires. It's many connections, and if you've never done this before, it can be a little bit daunting. I have never done this before, so I'm certainly going to take close photographs as well as review this video in the event that I don't remember where everything goes. Okay, so I removed the pick guard. You can see it even says here 500K audio, AUD. So it is correct. This is actually what would normally be used as a tone pot, but it is being used here as a volume pot. Another thing I noticed is that the mounting shaft, or the outer diameter of where it mounts, is quite a bit larger than the shadow pot. As such, flops around. It's not too good. There's a few things I could do to remedy this. One would be buy some sort of tube so that I can sleeve this to take up the space and bring it up more to the size of this. That would probably be the best solution. But what I can also do is use a larger washer back here in order to more evenly distribute the pressure once I tighten this, so that it doesn't start to crack. One good thing though is that you could skew this up to the other hole, because Eddie actually drilled this himself, and in his actual guitar the hole is more like over here. It's practically on top of this one. They made it nice and even over here. You know, it's kind of optimized the way Eddie wished he had done it, but didn't do, because he was just some rock star tinkering with his guitar. So you could bring it over a little bit to bring it more like that, or just center it up as the production model comes with. So I'm going to go look for a washer to put over here in between the pick guard and the lock nut. Additionally, I also matched the height of the original pot. It has its spacer nut all the way down, so I matched this one so that once this is on, they're about the same height. Fortunately, the depth in this cavity is deep enough, so this has plenty of room to go all the way down if necessary, and it won't bottom out. Now I've got to go to Shadow's website to figure out the schematics of this, because the case on the EVH pot is metal, and they have 3 different things being grounded to this. This does not have a metal back, and I have to confirm if these protrusions over here can work as a ground. These two spots over here look like they're for something, but they are not soldered or connected to anything. So you can see that one of the legs over here is actually bent back and soldered onto the back of the housing, thus grounding it. Additionally, these two wires are grounded to it as well. So I need to make 3 connections to ground, and I'm not quite sure where to do that on this. So I'm going to go to their website and verify if those would ground this. You see shadow, and you can see right there, audio A 500K. So I looked through my junk bolt bin, and I found this old stainless steel fender washer. It was a little tight, so I used the Dremel to widen it up. This will go on the back side, provides a nice wide support, and then I will sandwich the plate like so. Put this one in the front, another old washer I found lying around, and that way hopefully this will mitigate any potential cracking of this pick guard, since this is not the right size. Once the knob is on, it should shroud over this whole thing, cover it up. You won't see it. It'll look 100% stock. Here's an interesting thing about this shadow pot. I didn't think that these 2 contact points were for anything. Thought maybe it might just be, you know, extra things on a PCB board. But apparently, if you don't connect this lug to this and this one to this, the on-off function won't work. Why they wouldn't have that connected that way from the factory or internally is beyond me, because the sole reason why you would buy this is for that function. Otherwise, you would just use any other pot. But you have to make that connection. I learned that by testing the connections, and I didn't connect this to this and this to this. And so the volume was working, but the on-off function was not. Okay, since there's 3 grounding wires and the provisions for grounding are a little bit different on the shadow pot, I consolidated 3 into 1. So I soldered 3 wires into 1, which then I will solder onto the lug. But first I'm going to put a heat shrink on this to keep it from contacting anything inadvertently, and just to make it look better. That's the grounds. Now you do the same for the other 2 connections. Okay, so I've everything soldered up. I basically copied exactly the same pattern as was on the EVH pot. We have the lead coming from the humbucker going into the leftmost lug. The center goes to the jack, and all the grounds that I combined together with the heat shrink tube and a single wire so that I could get it into this lug nicely, go into the rightmost lug. This doesn't have a metal cover like many pots do, including the EVH. There is metal here, but I don't think that it's necessary for me to ground it there, because when I plugged it in, I didn't detect any noise one way or the other. It is a little less solid and sturdy feeling than the EVH at the ends. This seems to have like a little, you could even see it, little bounce, a little spring to it. I don't know if that'll affect performance, but it doesn't feel as solid. Then again, the EVH one doesn't have any plastic. This one does, and it's also quite a bit larger. And bigger usually means stronger, but hopefully it'll last. If it doesn't, well, I still have the original one to put back in. Okay, so now I put the pot back into the pick guard. I used the large fender washer on the back to support this, and a larger washer in the front as well. Again, because the shaft here is much thinner than the original EVH pot that was over here. So I wanted to be able to distribute the weight better, so that things wouldn't start to crack. I also compensated for the height so that it matches the EVH. At this angle it doesn't look like it, but I measured it, it's the same. So now I just have to tuck it in. Now I want to rotate this whole assembly so that the wires aren't interfering with the humbucker or sticking through over here. Afterwards I could just clock it using the marks that I left here. So getting this that way seems to be the best bet. Okay. Socket wrench would be better for this, but I don't have one right here. Right. It's not going anywhere. Okay, so I got the pick guard back in place, all the wiring's tucked in, the pot is secure, rotates freely. So now I turn it all the way to maximum, and using the marks that I made on this masking tape, I will clock the knob to match what was here originally. There you have it. Oops, looks like I got some duct tape caught under there. Rather, masking tape. Let's see. No humming? That's a good sign. Works perfectly. hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it helps some of you. And I think this will come in very handy. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm not going to kill you with my horrible playing, but I will play this part.